Hello everybody, my name is Ibrahim Gunsiver, and this is my final presentation for CIS 245 Linux Administration at Northern Essex Community College. So I'm going to start off by saying, oh my goodness, thank God this semester is over between COVID, and I didn't realize how intense this class would have been, especially as an online class, but we got through it, and yay! So as you can see, my portfolio looks pretty much the same for my midterm. I did make some tweaks and I did add some more information to my portfolio, but I'm going to start with my biggest challenges and stuff. So to start it off, I'm going to just start off with my challenges and the different checklists that she gave us. So from this semester, my biggest challenge from this class was just creating the various scripts. I have struggled with the specific scripting labs and especially the user management lab. I spent so much time on that and I just said screw it, I'm not going to do it. And that I feel like, is something that I really need to work on, and it's something for the future where I have to spend extra time scripting, especially with Bash and Python, because in the IT world, scripting is a big deal and it can make your life easier. So it's something that I really should think about cracking down and getting the hang of. So my biggest challenge essentially was creating the various scripts, especially networking. The moment that I was most proud of was creating a functioning network script, because is something as basic as that I struggled with, and I couldn't get one of the things that was driving me nuts. I should actually pull it up. So I have my GitHub here, and I have added more documentation to it because if anybody watched my midterm video, it was very lacking, and now I have stuff in here. So I'm going to go to my networking script. I just called it networkingscript.sh. One of the issues I had with this was that I guess I wasn't formatting the variables correctly, so anytime I'd call current date, it would just say date plus and then all these percentages. And what I really wanted it to do was to show today's date with the month, the day, and then the hour, and then the minute. And it wouldn't show it for the life of me. It turns out all I had to do was make sure to have this $sign here. All I was missing was this $sign, and this $sign allowed it to be seen as a variable, and then when I called it, when the script called it, it would show the date at the end of the file, so it's appending to the file. So this is my network script. I have the bin bash. I have the lovely date here. Talk about last minute, right? Actually, I've been working on it. I updated the date because that's the last time I worked on it. So what it does, basically, the script goes through. It pings Google 2 times, and then it sends that information to the network status.txt. And then it gets the host name. The host name is pretty much, it takes the local domain name and the name of the server, and it puts it into that network status.txt. I also installed an application called TCP track, and that takes information such as your IP address or your current movements or any current ports and stuff like that, and that puts it to the network status.txt. And it looks like I forgot to put the comment there. Well, that's something to note. Oh, well, I forgot to put the comment for explaining TCP track. Well, now I know. And yeah, it basically when I run the script, I had to use change mod and set it to 755 so I can actually run the script. And it runs within this. I created a folder on both my CentOS and Debian servers called scripts, and that's where it runs and that's where it lives. And then if you open up the network status.txt, it will show you the results of this script. So going back to here, one thing I would do to improve, if I could do this all over again, I would start the labs with the scripts first. Scripting, as you know, as I've explained, has been a very weak part of my skill set, and I'd like to improve it. And I feel like, starting with arc and grep, and I like documenting things and installing things and just explaining how to do things is my strong point. So I feel like I should have saved the continuing setup and the initial setup labs, for a little bit later. I should have just started with the scripting labs, but, that's one thing I would do if I had the chance to do it all over again. One thing from this term that I could see myself using in the future is using Splunk. So I'll show it in a second, but I was able to, if I go to my portfolio here and we go to accomplishments, I was able to complete Splunk Part 1 and Splunk Part 2 successfully. And what Splunk is basically is it kind of aggregates all types of information. So basically, if you have a web server and a e-commerce server and a login server, you have all this data. And what the Splunk language does, it takes that data and allows you to use it to your advantage. So basically, you would have to install the Splunk indexer on the specific machine that you want the data to be indexed. And then you get presented with this dashboard that allows you to use the Splunk code and the Splunk syntax to aggregate the data to how you would like. So, for example, you could create, let's say, I want to have a table that tells me all the categories, all the top 10 categories of products. So let's say if I had a gaming company and I want to know the top 10 games that sold the most and the location and the time, you can have that with Splunk. And there's so many applications with this. Splunk Part 1 I thought was really easy and pretty straightforward. I enjoyed the course. It was laid out nice, and as a Northern Essex Community College student, we get to complete Splunk Part 1 and Splunk Part 2 for free. Part 1 was really great. I was able to finish it within a week. Splunk 2 was a little bit more intense, and it took me about a week. It took me about 2 weeks to complete, but in all, it was a pretty, decent experience. I was gonna say, yeah, I suggest if you have the opportunity I would highly suggest taking the certification course. Their videos are really nicely laid out. The labs are pretty great, and with the Part 2, so with the Part 1, you can't ask an instructor, unfortunately, but with the Part 2 lab, you are able to have credit for 30 minutes with an instructor from Splunk to ask any specific questions you may have, and I found that very helpful. So one thing from this term that I could see myself using in the future, in a job in the future, I could definitely see myself using Splunk to aggregate data at a position. Could also see myself creating a Linux server for a dev. With this class, I was able to gain confidence building Debian and CentOS servers. So if, let's say in my IT engineering job, if a developer wanted to have access to a Linux server to run specific code or something of that nature, I do feel comfortable creating a server for him and adding him as a user and giving him access. Did you improve the things you set out to improve since the midterm? Well, I wanted to improve my scripting knowledge, and that didn't really phase out, but I did add more documentation to GitHub, and I did get at least one script done, which was the network script, so you can't really fault me. I mean, I am a little disappointed that I didn't wrap my head around the user management script or complete a good portion of the labs. I mean, I have like 8 labs done, I believe. I wish I could have done more. I wish I kind of put my head to it and not got all flustered with the scripting. But it is a weak point of mine, and I am working on it. So that's pretty much my top, my 5 things that I've been working on. Let me go ahead and go to my GitHub just to show you guys. So this is what my GitHub looks like. I have my Python program from a previous class. If we go to Linux admin, you can see all the documentation here along with my networking script. This is the networking lab I posted. If we click view raw, it should just pop up here. Let me just make sure it's gonna work. Yeah, so it's just basically like a little install guide I had. I know it's a little rough. I don't know. I kind of struggled with it, but I did the best I could. And it's just basically explaining like how I installed everything and like where to run the scripts. You can find all of this on my GitHub. If we go back to the portfolio, you can see I have my documentation here of everything that I've done, and this is what I mean. Like, I really excelled at this how-to guides, especially the application style guides. I should have just saved these for last and just focused on the scripting instead. Awk did take a good portion of my time, and it should be uploaded here, and it looks like I forgot to upload it on my portfolio, but it is on my GitHub, so I do have most of my GitHub stuff on here. So if we go to Arc Lab and we click View Raw, you can actually see my Arc Lab files. And I did struggle with Arc. It did take me a minute, but I was able to figure it out. And I have screenshots of all my commands and everything, and how I went about things. And I even had a script. See, the Arc, that's what's funny. The Arc script took me a while, but I was able to get it done, and it took a long time for me to complete. So I just eyebalked at the user management script. If it wasn't for Splunk, I'd be in a bad situation right now. Splunk was such a nice segue from everything. It was refreshing. And I've noticed that it is a requirement on a lot of resumes, and a lot of people have been asking for it. And it's not that you it's just the fundamentals. You still might want to get more certification with Splunk, but if you have the time, and if you have 30 days to complete, I highly recommend checking it out. If we scroll towards the bottom of the accomplishments page, I just posted my weekly accomplishments from the wiki page. I just copied it here. As you can see, challenge was finishing Splunk 2 and getting a presentation together. Accomplishment, I finished Splunk 2, and I figured out the network script, working on the final presentation and the post-mortem. So, yeah, this was just a brief overview of my portfolio and my GitHub and everything. This was my final presentation. Apologies if this was just a bit jumbled. I had a little bit of a work issue, and this is the only time I could have had to record it, but live and you learn. But yeah, in all, if I could reset everything, I wish I could have just given myself more time for the scripts, and that's the goal going forward, is just push through and really practice the scripts, especially with Python and PowerShell. That's my future plans currently, and yeah. Other than that, my name is Ibrahim Gunsever. This was my final presentation for CIS 245 Linux Administration, and I hope you guys enjoyed the presentation. Thank you.